We're seeing you here on 4400. How was Jarrell originally described to you?
Um, I guess like he was described by what was at stake for him and kind of like who he was at his core. So it was, I guess, first who he was at his core. He was a social worker, but like someone who is very concerned and compassionate towards the struggle of others. So he was a social worker with immigrants and families trying to like navigate through the process of citizenship, everything. So he has like an immediate affinity for the 4400 and sort of views them as those people trying to just have normal lives but caught in crazy situations. But on top of that, he was described as someone who has a deep tie personally to the 4400, and that being his brother who has gone missing under similar circumstances. And like that being not only the character's wound, like his deeper internal like trauma
Mm.
that drives him throughout this story, but like also his goal inevitably in all of this, it is to figure out what happened with brother. Um, So those are the character descriptions that I got when I initially like went out for Jarrell.
Was it an audition for you? I mean, how did this project come across your desk?
It was an audition. I because there were so many roles for Black people in it. Um, I initially got the audition for the Reverend character, and I knew that like I guess I knew that I loved the script when I got it. So I got the audition for Rev, read the script, loved it, was like, I want to be a part of this story, just don't know where. And then like maybe 2 days after my audition for the Reverend character, I got another audition for Jarrell and like sent in tapes for both and like continuously was going into the like next level of casting for both to the point where I was like testing for both for the network. And I was like, I don't know where I fit into the story. I know that I love it. I know that I like want to be a part of what it is that they're doing, but I just don't know where I'm going to fit it. And luckily, it ended up being Jarrell.
Was there anything you may have added to him then that wasn't there for him on the page that you thought, okay, I see this in him?
It's funny because so much of who you sort of convey on screen, so much of our characters are just like pieces of us. Like there are subtle nuances and like the way that I personally deal with loss or the way that I guess express emotion and compassion that naturally comes across in who I play because in order to make something real, like I have to feel it. I have to personally connect through what that character is going through. So much of his mannerism, so much of like how he's dealing with these things is just me inherently. And I feel like a lot like going through this story and like working with the talented showrunners as Ariana and Sunil and the writers on the show, like they can pick up on sort of how you deal with things or how you process information or how you like just are naturally. And that sort of starts to shape how they write the character.
Hmm.
So it's funny because like that you get the, oh snap.
Sorry about that.
I don't know, it's fine. You'll read the pilot and like Jarrell talks a certain way, and then through the course of knowing me, now like Jarrell sort of sounds a little bit more like me. And it's just like naturally how I don't know how I embodied this character. But there was, I guess, a heavy amount of background work that I did to understand what to bring to the role. And luckily, like everyone on the show was extremely open to it, which I loved.
Good.
Yeah. Before because I had written an entire synopsis of sort of who I thought the character was. And I
Really?
yeah. Just to see like, okay, am I in the right direction? Is this kind of the vision that you guys had in mind? And some of the things they didn't gel with, some of the things they really, really loved. And like the combination of like my creative vision and like Ariana and I guess all of the different departments idea of who this person was sort of melded together. But I sent a synopsis, I sent a mood board with wardrobe, hairstyles, color tones, like every single aspect of who I felt like this guy was. And like we hit the ground running. So on top of like meeting, talking, working with social workers just to understand the weight of that job, I also wanted him to have a certain aesthetic and feel to him. And all of that and their visions like melded together and came across as what's on screen.
Were you familiar with any of your co-stars before working with them here on 4400?
No, I hadn't met anybody. And it's crazy because so many of the people on the show now are new. They're new, not to the industry, but
fresh to the screen.
Yeah. So like a lot of them were in theater backgrounds, or some just came from college and everything, and they were able to find so many talented, like fresh young faces to be in this thing. So like, unfortunately, I hadn't had a chance to meet any of them just through the industry auditioning or anything like that. But these new kids are incredibly talented. I'm a little intimidated by how much talent these kids have.
My goodness, there's such chemistry also between Jarrell and Shanice. What kind of feedback have you been receiving, at least, to this particular character, and maybe what the fans want to see the two of them connect?
It's funny because like I think there is very different love interest in the in the pipeline for both Jarrell and Shanice. I'm gonna reveal something because like it's a funny story and I think it's hilarious and I hope they don't get too mad at me for saying it. So when I was talking to the showrunners and everything about the show before I got it, they were talking about like they're thinking about Jarrell may have a love interest and it might be one of the 4400. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I get the like pilot script and like he's having a lot of interactions with this Shanice person. So I was like, oh, like this is probably like who they were talking about, So I had played these scenes like I approached these scenes as if like we were going to have a spark there. I swear to, and like even the people I work with a coach on a lot of the material before we went and shot the pilot. So like we all personalize things and like I don't know, like so I made sure that there was a spark there, and like that was completely not the direction that they wanted to take with the show for either of our characters. And like she's just gotten out of, well, not even gotten out of, she was married like a week ago, and now she's just trying to find her husband and dealing with all this stuff. But I completely misinterpreted who they were going to have Jarrell be a thing with. And like, I think in a way she did too. So that like, there are some scenes where like feelings are flying and then like, it's not there anymore.
Well, I mean,
it's one of those funny things that you never know until like halfway through. They're like, "Oh yeah, no, that wasn't no."
I mean, you can only guess based on what the scripts you're given at the time,
right? I was like, "It's here. It's right here. It's on the page."
You are a part of social media. What kind of fan feedback have you been receiving to the series so far?
I mean, on social media, it has been nothing but love and like a lot of speculation. Like, that's the fun part because people want to guess what's going on. Like my brother who's missing is Manny. So people are all trying to like guess and theorize like what is going on with Manny? Where is Manny? Like, is he dead? Can Hayden speak to the dead? Is Hayden Manny? Like there's so many fan theories flying around, and it's like it's fun to see because like that was me when we were working on those episodes. Like I was literally like, okay, so I get it. So this is like he did this when we were over, then that happened, and they're like, that's. I love our showrunners. They will not tell me anything. I think they're afraid I'm gonna spoil it. Like once I get to a one-on-one with you, I'm gonna just leak out.
Well, I promise not to push too far. That way, you keep your job for season 2.
Yes, put it out there. I mean, I'm putting it out there. Season 2 is coming. Like I know that pickup order is coming.
Well, there's got to be some incredible, memorable moments you've had from filming. Each episode is so gripping because you want to know, like you said, who ends up with who, where is Manny, things like that. Are there some episodes you think fans should really keep an eye out for? Or maybe some memorable moments that you had while you were filming on set that you can at least share?
I know. There's like, honestly, there's so many. My favorite episode was probably episode 6. Like there is a massive shift that happens in how the story is being told in episode 6. So where it's like, okay, like the show starts to take on this like, I don't know, this structure where you're like, okay, I think I understand the structure. Like they get information, okay, we got to do this with the 4400, like da 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 da, and then it's like revealing who this person was. Episode 6 turns the whole structure that we've had so far on its head. Not only that, like so much happens, and when I read it, I was like, this is my favorite episode. So I guess I can't reveal anything. This is tough. Episode 6, paradigm shift. There's a heist. There's a heist.
You touched on it a bit, but what does it mean to you to be a part of a series that's got so many Black leads at the forefront of it?
It's funny because for the bulk of the time that I was in town and Hollywood and everything, it's only ever like a handful of roles for Blacks, just on any project, whatever. So then naturally that sort of breeds a level of like competitiveness between other Black actors and stuff like that. And it's frustrating. It's like,
yeah, I'm sure.
It's an exhausting thing, especially because there's so much opportunity for all of us to have our stories told. So like being on a show where finally you get to explore not only like us as leads, everything, but the different integral parts and how diverse the stories are just within our culture. Like how many different backgrounds you can explore within the Black experience, and all of them be different and all of them be variable. And it allows for an opportunity to do that, to have like, people who are nefarious or like complicated characters, everything, because when you have like, when you have 1 or 2 Black people in a show, what you say about those Black people, how those Black people are, is what your show's perspective on Black people is.
Right.
It's not a lot of room for diversity. It's not a lot of room to be like, oh, but this one's shifty. This one's like trying to do the right thing. And this, it's like this person did this, and that's like how Black people act on your show. And I don't know, I feel like extremely lucky to be a part of a show that is exploring stories that like I've never even seen on TV, and doing so in such compelling and touching ways. Um, and even the last episode, I watched episode 4, and has such a beautiful story in it that, like, I don't know, I was moved and like super proud to be a part of it. But I guess grateful.
Have you been busy working on any other projects while we're watching 4400?
Oh man, I've been unbelievably busy. I'm still shooting 4400, by the way. Like I think we're on episode 11 now.
Good.
So I'm still working on this. I had shot a short film during the pandemic. Like we finished it like literally right before 4400 started shooting. Um, it's actually a big factor in why they changed my role from the Reverend to Jarrell. They had seen the short film and they were like, "Oh no, like you are this character, not this character," because so much of like the aspects that they wanted for Jarrell were in this short film. The short film was called These Final Hours, and we ended up taking it to SCAD to premiere maybe like a week or so ago, like 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
I think I'm working so much, the dates are getting
yes.
blurred. But we lucked out. We won not only like best in our category of Black voices, but we won best short film in the whole festival. And it's the first one that we've gone to. So I'm super stoked. Like we're hitting the ground running and like really making moves on it.
Good.
Yeah. So excited about that being out there and like slowly making progress while like also working on a full album to be released probably top of next year, but along with like probably the mid-season premiere for the second half of this season, I guess.
Mhm.
So I'm basically I'm not sleeping. Anytime that I'm not on set or like actively working on the promotion of the short film, I'm working on the album and just trying to find sleep.
As an artist, who would you most love then to collaborate with in the future?
Um, it's funny because there's so many different people that I would love to work with in different industries. So I feel like as an actor, I would love to. I mean, because I did a film with Denzel, but like I was a small part, a very, very small part of his film. Like I would love to do something more substantial
Right.
with someone that I've respected for so many years and like look up to so much for who he is and what he's accomplished as an actor. Um, I would love to work with Charles King. Is a producer, but like started off as an agent, transitioned into producing, has his own production
Wow.
company. Yeah, like he's a good majority of the Black films that are up for Oscars every year are his films. And I don't know, he's kind of like the blueprint for who I would want to be as a producer and making my own projects, telling my own stories, and like just moving the needle for diversity in film. Um, he is that like effortlessly. And music, I don't know. There's so many different like artists that I look
I'm sure your
at.
influence is people who have played some sort of role in helping you become the artist you are now.
Yeah, I mean the whole album is sort of a playlist through all of my musical inspirations and everything. So you feel so much of the influences in every single track, but the track plays through different genres of music because I don't know, I could never pigeonhole myself into one box or one thing, and I found so much love in every single type of music. and like each genre had its own artist that like really, really impacted me. So it's hard to think of one that I would be like, man, I really want to work with this. Oh, but I really want to do this. I want, you know. So I guess music, I wouldn't be able to come up with one concrete person.
What would you like to say then to everyone who are fans and supporters of the work you do, whether it's on screen or musically?
I guess, thank you. I mean, the reason that I do what I do is to give you guys something to connect to feel, to love, you know, to entertain you. And I really appreciate you sticking with me from shows to movies to music to everything. It means more to me than you know, and you guys are the reason I do it.